Beatrice Nkathanyaga, the Honorable Khatib Mwashetani, the Honorable Faith Wairimo Gitau, the Honorable David Kosing, the Honorable David Ole Sankok, the Honorable William Chepkut, the Honorable Gladwell Chesire Cheruyot, the Honorable John Kiarie, the Honorable William Kipkemoi Kisang, the Honorable Junet Sheikh Nu Mohammed, the Honorable Florence Muikali Mutua, the Honorable Nicholas Tindi Mwale, the Honorable Dr. Benson Makali Mulu, the Honorable Owen Baya, the Honorable Ahmed Abdi Salan Ibrahim, and the Honorable Catherine Wambilianga. These are 19 legislators who are being proposed to serve in this committee on selection. Thereafter, members shall also consider another motion by the Leader of Majority on the appointment of members to the Procedure and House Rules Committee. This is also in accordance with the standing orders of the House, Standing Orders 172 to be exact. And the proposed names here are 15, led by the Honorable David Kiaraho, the Honorable Abdul Rahim Dawood, the Honorable David Gikaria, the Honorable Ruwaida Mohamed Obo, the Honorable David Losiako Kosing, the Honorable Cicely Mbarire, the Honorable Gadhoni Wamushomba, the Honorable Captain Retired Didmas Wekesa Baraza, the Honorable Janet Jepkemboi CTNA, the Honorable Ben Mumanyi, the Honorable T.J. Kajwang, the Honorable Beatrice Adagala, the Honorable Olago Aluoch, the Honorable Zuleika Hassan, and the Honorable Pamela Odhiambo. 15 legislators being proposed to serve in this Procedure and House Rules Committee. Those two motions are lined up to come before the House this very afternoon for deliberation among their colleagues. And then thereafter, we shall have a resumption of debate on the Copyright Amendment Bill, National Assembly Bill number 33 of the year 2017. This discussion was done last week. It was not concluded. It resumes this afternoon. And it is one that seeks to amend Section 2 of the Copyright Act by incorporating a new provision for the domestication of the Marrakesh Treaty. It also concerns the ISP liability and resale royalty rights. A number of proposals to amend definitions as contained in that particular act. Among them, introduction of new sections, such as one making provisions for voluntary registration of copyright by either owners, authors, assignees, or exclusive licensees. This particular copyright amendment bill seeking to further regulate the copyright.
And of those whose interests were committed to a charge. Amen. Quorum. We can start.
Order number 1, administration of oath. Order number 2, communication from the chair. Order number 3, messages. Order number 4, petitions. Order number 5, papers.
Leader of the Majority Party.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I beg to lay the following papers on the table of the House today, Tuesday, December 5, 2017. The list of nominees to 4 National Government Constituency Development Fund committees from the National Government Constituency Development Fund Board. 2, annual report of the Kenya Law Reform Commission from 1st of July 2016 to 30th June 2017. 3, the preliminary report on a human rights account of 2017 general election by the Kenya National Commission on Human Rights. 4, the report of the Auditor General on the financial statements in respect of the following constituencies for the year that ended 30th June 2016 and the certificate therein. Tigania East, Central Imenti, Kaiti constituency, Mwingi West, Mwingi Central, Mara constituency, Igembe South, Kajiado East, and Eldas constituency. The report of the Auditor General on the financial statements in respect of the following institutions for the year that ended 30th June 2016 and the certificate therein. Kenya Forest Service, State Department for Interior, the Presidency, Moi Teaching and Referral Hospital, and Kenya Seed Company Limited and its subsidiary. Number 6, the report of the Auditor General on the financial statements in respect of the following institutions for the year that ended 30th June 2017 and the certificate therein. Kengen, Kenya Power and Lighting Company. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Well, next order.
Honorable Speaker, I beg to give notice of the following motion, that pursuant to the provisions of Standing Order 28.4, and notwithstanding the provisions of Standing Order 27.1, this House resolves to alter the calendar for the first session of the Assembly 2017 as adopted on September 27, 2017, by extending its regular sittings to Thursday, December 14th. 2, I beg to give notice, Mr. Speaker, of the following motion, that pursuant to the provisions of Section 43.4 and Regulations 5.10 of the National Government Constituency Development Fund 2015, this House approves the list of nominees for appointment to the following 4 constituencies, committees of the National Government Constituency Development Fund laid on the table of the House on Tuesday, December 5th, 2017. Narok East Constituency, Gatanga Constituency, with the Gatanga Constituency, the additional names, Mvita Constituency, and Nyando Constituency.
Next order.
Order number 7, statements. Order number 8, the Public Trustee Amendments Bill, National Assembly Bill number 32 of 2017. Second reading, question to be put.
Honourable members, debate on this bill was concluded. But what remained was for the question to be put. But before I put the question, I need to notify the House that in keeping with the requirements of Article 118, this bill has not yet been subjected to public hearings, so the views of stakeholders can be incorporated in the bill as the House passes it. And therefore, even as we put the question, further progress on this bill will have to be stayed until such time as the House will affirm to put the question that the Public Trustee Amendment Bill, National Assembly Bill number 32 of 2017 be now read a second time. As many as that opinion say, aye. Just give you the. If you could just stop fiddling with the gadget.
Long enough to know when it's not working. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. In reference to the motion that we have just passed.
Instructions that whoever will be on the chair during committee of the whole house stage have the latitude to allow for some unusual comments in committee of the whole house, which will be informed by the views that will have been collected from the public contained in the committee's report, which report we expect even could propose some amendments, and that therefore whoever will be the chair at the time will allow members to give comments relating to the bill, and any member desiring to propose amendments will be given some latitude to do so even at that time after hearing the report of the committee. But this progress had been decided upon because the House needed to transact the business in second stage of the bill. So that's the route we shall, at least the avenue we shall take for the time being. And indeed, with regard to any other bill that the House may debate in committee in second reading, and maybe could be concluded, same approach will be used. Since we have been in extraordinary circumstances, we are also required to use extraordinary means of ensuring that at least the House benefits from views of the public. Yes. Next order.
A bill for an act of Parliament to amend the Public Trustee Act and for connected purposes.
Honour members, I'm reminded that there had been published since Thursday last week another paper, but subsequent to that, there is a supplementary order paper which has come up, and I hope that sufficient copies have been distributed for each member to have. We are dealing with the business as appearing on the supplementary order paper. This happened because the House Business Committee met at 12 to make some decision regarding the order the business is going to be transacted this afternoon. Leader of the
representing independents, the Honorable Gladwell Chesire Cheriot, the Honorable John Kierie, the Honorable William Kisang, the Honorable Junet Sheikh Mohammed, the Honorable Florence Mwikali Murua, the Honorable Nicholas Tindi Mwale, the Honorable Dr. Benson Makali Mulu, the Honorable Owen Baya, and the Honorable Ahmed Abdisalam Ibrahim, and the Honorable Catherine Wambilianga. Speaker, this is a very, very important committee, and this is a committee that sets the agenda for the House now to constitute the various committees. And in the House Business Committee this afternoon, which, Mr. Speaker, you chaired, we have given the deadline that by next week, Wednesday, Tuesday is a public holiday, if the motion for the extension of the House is agreeable tomorrow afternoon, that Wednesday, Thursday next week, the House will deal with the matter of approving the various members to various committees of the House. And of course, the other key agenda is the election of our membership to the East African Legislative Assembly, IALA, on Thursday, the 14th. So, Mr. Speaker, next week will be a busy week for the House to deal with, so that after that, members, various committees can again elect their chairs and vice chairs. So, Mr. Speaker, I really want to ask, and I have passed the same message in the House Business Committee, that those of us in Jubilee, we are set, we are ready to work the whole weekend until Monday, and I've ensured that on Wednesday morning, the selection committee will sit to approve and adapt the list of members to various committees. So we expect our colleagues, now that they are back in full in the House, also to sit the whole weekend until Monday. I'm sure Honorable Mbandi is up to the task, same as Honorable Junet Mohammed. So that at least we go home when members are in committees. We go home when we know who is the chair of education, who is the chair of Public Accounts Committee, who are our representative to the Parliamentary Service Commission, who will represent us in the Pan-African Parliament, who will represent us in many other fora, so that the business of the leadership of the House is complete by Thursday next week. So just to make sure that we look at regional balance, we looked at gender balance, and many other issues, and I'm sure this is a committee, Mr. Speaker, that is chaired by the leader of majority. And it's a committee that has only one function. Once we put members in these in committees, we will wait for 5 years, or in between, if you misbehave in your respective coalition. The whips don't need to notify you. The whips don't need even to tell you that we are sending you out here. But because last Parliament, Mr. Speaker, there was so many cases like this, mainly from our colleagues. And we realized, the House realized, that fine, you can remove a member, but a due process must be followed. And I'm sure that was captured in the new standing order, that unlike before, when the whip can sit at the lobby and tell his secretary, can you type and remove Honorable Aden Duale from that committee, and the letter come to the Speaker, and that will be the end of you. Now the standing orders, I think, provide that the leadership should not abuse their offices. So there must be some due diligence and grounds. Why are you being removed? What crime have you committed? Or are you given an opportunity to defend yourself? You know, sometimes you'll be removed because you are found in my office. Or you are a Jubilee, you are found in Honorable Mbandi's office. And, you know, and you are told, what are you doing at the Honorable Mbandi's office? And you are not Jubilee. Or you went to a funeral, and that person happened to your friend, and it is in South Nyanza, or it is in Rift Valley, or it is in Northeastern, and then you are told, we saw you on TV. You know, what were you doing there? And then the following Tuesday, you have no committee. That brought the element that we must do due diligence. And I'm sure the leadership, even then in the 11th Parliament, we had good reasons. So, but this time, we have put it in the standing order so that we can make sure that, yes, until it reaches a situation where the party or the coalition sees that you are not helping them in their agenda in the House, because each one of us is a member of a political party, and each one of us believes in the aspiration of that party. And we must at all times defend and protect your coalition or your party. So, Mr. Speaker, these are men and women who will help us, those of us who are in the leadership, between Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday. Tuesday we are away to craft the various names and making sure that we bring a list to the House on Wednesday or Thursday next week. I beg to move and ask my neighbor where I live in Nairobi and my good friend, the leader of minority, to second.
Leader minority.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I rise to second this motion, which is proposing or asking the House to approve the membership of the Committee on Selection. Mr. Speaker, both sides of the House, the majority party, proposed their names after consultation, and also the minority, which is a coalition of parties. Also, after thorough consultation, we agreed to have representation in the selection committee, or the Committee on Selection. Mr. Speaker, I just want to mention that this committee's sole responsibility, as having been ably demonstrated by the leader of majority, is to place members to various committees of the House to help the two sides of the House, the leadership of the two sides of the House, to place members in various committees. Because placing members, and we have 349 members of the National Assembly, to various committees is not an easy task. And therefore you need membership, you need people to sit together and balance all the interests. Like in the case of the minority side, we'll be balancing the interests of not just the regions or gender, but also the partner parties in or within the coalition. Mr. Speaker, on our side, we have the Honorable Florence Mwikali Mutua, Nicholas Tindi Mwale. Actually, I want to say that all the parties in the coalition, major parties in the coalition, which are 4, are actually represented. And we have also taken into consideration the issue of gender. We have 2 women out of the 7 members of that committee. I know that is short of the 1/3 principle, but if you go to the next motion, which we'll soon go to, you'll realize that we have 3 out of 6, which is 50-50 membership. We will make sure, as leadership of the minority coalition, that we take into consideration the gender principle, because we believe in gender. I do believe in gender, Mr. Speaker, and I know my coalition also believe in gender. Mr. Speaker, this committee will immediately embark on the process of, after getting names or suggestions from our coalitions, or from both sides of the House, from the leadership, we'll propose the names through our whips, the names of membership to these committees. And after that, I expect this committee to sit next week and have the committees in place. Mr. Speaker, I actually felt that we seriously need committees of the House to take up their responsibility. You have just disposed of a motion here, Mr. Speaker, at the second reading. And Mr. Speaker, I could see the difficulty you are in. Because if you look at our standing orders require that before a bill goes to the second reading, actually the relevant departmental committee should look at that bill, do a report to the House, even before the second reading. And in the event they are not ready with the report, they should report that. So, Mr. Speaker, I could see the difficulty that the chair was in trying to see the best way to handle a very unique situation that probably the House presented itself to. But finally, Mr. Speaker, I must also say that a lot of things are going on in the country at the moment which require our committees, the House committees, to be active, to deal with. Mr. Speaker, the police service has mishandled public, what I would call public demonstrations in this country, and mishandled it big time. A lot of Kenyans have lost their lives in this country unnecessarily. Young children have been shot in this country unnecessarily. And therefore, if we had the Committee on Security or Internal Security, by now the Inspector General of Police would be answering to that committee, telling Kenyans why Baby Pendo could be shot the way she was shot, why that young boy who came after school for holidays could lose his life in such circumstances. Mr. Speaker, we need these committees in place. Because we have a strong feeling that this country is sliding back in terms of the democratic space. We see the democratic space being narrowed. We see the clawing back on the gains. The government has started with freedom of assembly. We can see freedom of expression under threat. I listened recently to Uhuru Kenyatta talk. And when I listened to him, I actually heard him say that the people who are making comments in the media make him not want to watch the media. In fact, if you listen to him clearly, that to me was like a threat to people who are freely expressing their opinion. And this is something that this House must deal with, because Parliament is not an appendage of the executive. Parliament is an independent arm of the government. And that is why we can still have a parliament sitting and continuing with business even before we sort out the messes at the executive, even before we agree whether this country has a president or not. Mr. Speaker, I want the committees of parliament to take up their responsibility and execute their functions, Mr. Speaker, because it is necessary. Mr. Speaker, I second the motion. The rest can contribute when their time comes. I've just seconded the motion.
Mr. Speaker. Yes. Mr. Speaker, no, I'm still on a point of order. Mr. Speaker, you know you can campaign for a position you have just won through the Supreme Court. Should not be a punching back. Mr. Speaker, that was, I think, you allow the Honorable Bandi, because there is a lot of undercurrents in the NASA coalition. And he is not sure whether this seat will last. This morning they are supposed to have the Speaker a PG, and the PG was cancelled. So it is part of the campaigning, and I'm sure Honorable Junet must be around also looking for another opportunity. But I hope, as a good friend, as a neighbor, I hope he will retain the seat in the next 5 years and be a very good leader of the opposition that can check the government, legally elected government, of the only one and the only leader, Honorable Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta, the President of the Republic of Kenya, Mr. Speaker.
Well, if we could remain to restrict ourselves to the motion. Honorable John Bandi, were you seconding, or are you making general comments?
No. Mr. Speaker, actually, I was just seconding the motion. I don't know why my colleague and friend gets agitated. But, Mr. Speaker, I just want to inform him that really my position is not in contention. I am not threatened in any way. I think NASA coalition decided to give me this position because I merit. But if and when time comes that I don't merit it, someone else would merit it. So I'm not really campaigning. I think I've just stated the facts as I know it. You may have a different opinion, but that is your opinion. My opinion, I have stated. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I second.
Well, if you could tell the member for Nambale that we are in the House. If you could take your seat. Oh, I thought that member was seated. He's too short. Very well. You may remain there. Honourable members, I propose the question that pursuant to the provision of Standing Order number 172, this House approves the appointment of the following members to the Committee on Selection, in addition to those specified under paragraph 1, 1A and B. 1, the Honourable Jimmy Angwenyi, MP. 2, the Honourable Benjamin Washali, MP. 3, the Honourable Jude Jomo, MP. 4, the Honorable Beatrice Nkadha Nyaga, MP. 5, the Honorable Khatib Mwashetani, MP. 6, the Honorable Faith Wairimo Gitao, MP. 7, the Honorable David Kosing, MP. 8, the Honorable David Ole Sankok, MP. 9, the Honorable William Chepkut, MP. 10, the Honorable Gladwell Jesire Cheruiyot, MP. 11, the Honorable John Kiari, MP. 12, the Honorable William Kipkemoi Kisang, MP. 13, the Honorable Junaid Sheikh Nur Mohammed, MP. 14, the Honorable Florence Mwikali Mutua, MP. 15, the Honorable Nicholas Tindi Mwale, MP. 16, the Honorable Dr. Benson Makali Mulu, MP. 17, the Honorable Owen Baya, MP. 18, the Honorable Ahmed Abdisalam Ibrahim, MP. And 19, the Honorable Catherine Wabilianga, MP. Honorable members, before I go further, I wish to also bring it to the attention of the members that the membership referred to in paragraph 1, A and B, is the leader of the majority party, who is the chair of that committee, and the leader of the minority party. And that indeed confirmed that there was an amendment to Standing Order number 176. If you look at it, subsection 1 of it clearly states that for a member to be discharged from a committee, they must be given the due process of law, be heard, be explained why it is that it is proposed to discharge them from a committee, so that when finally the party that nominated a member to a committee makes the decision to discharge the member, and the letter comes to me, indeed, as is required within 3 days, I'll make the announcement that the member has gone through the due process and is formally discharged from that committee. That's the essence of that amendment. I'm sure members of the 11th Parliament will recall the rigors that members went through. Thank you. Well, I see as if there's is it the desire of the House to? Honourable members, is it the desire of the House that I put the question? Honourable members, as you know, fortunately, and I keep repeating this, again, Article 122 of the Constitution, as you know, doesn't give me not even a half a vote. So I throw the matter to you. So I put the question that pursuant to the provisions of Standing Order number 172, this House approves the appointment of the following members to the Committee on Selection, in addition to those specified in paragraph 1A and B. 1, the Honorable Jimmy Angwenyi, MP. The Honorable Benjamin Washali, MP. The Honorable Jude Jomo, MP. The Honorable Beatrice Nkadha Nyaga, MP. The Honorable Khatib Mwashetani, MP. The Honorable Faith Wairimo Gitao, MP. The Honorable David Kosing, MP. The Honorable David Ole Sankok, MP. The Honorable William Chepkut, MP. The Honorable Gladwell Jesire Cheruiyot, MP. The Honorable John Kiari, MP. The Honorable William Kipkemoi Kisang, MP. The Honorable Junaid Sheikh Nur Mohammed, MP. The Honorable Florence Mwikali Mutua, MP. The Honorable Nicholas Tindi Mwale, MP. The Honorable Dr. Benson Makali Mulu, MP. The Honorable Owen Baya, MP. The Honorable Ahmed Abdisalam Ibrahim, MP. And the Honorable Catherine Wabilianga, MP. Will as many as of that opinion say aye? Aye. Those of the contrary opinion say nay. The ayes have it. Now, members, you see, I don't even know who was opposed. Nobody, I never had any nay. Next order. But of course, honourable members, I wish to reiterate what was said by both the leader of majority and the leader of minority party, that this committee should indeed move with speed and assist the leadership in placing members into various committees that they may have indicated desire to serve in. Of course, taking into account all those considerations that have been stated both in the Constitution and in the standing orders. So please, I urge this committee, maybe the leader of majority, the leader of minority party, to move with speed and call for the first meeting. Honorable John Bandy, I'm sure now you are fully in the House. So you people can agree, the two of you. I heard the leader of majority say that you are neighbors. I think you can agree on when you could have the first meeting, because as you rightly pointed out, indeed the committees are the engine of any parliament. And like they always say, the adage that parliament in committee is parliament at work. And parliament in plenary, as we are now, is parliament on exhibition. So please, if we can get to work and minimize the exhibitions. Next order.
Order number 10, motion, appointment of members to the Procedure and House Rules Committee.
Leader majority.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I beg to move that pursuant to the provisions of Standing Order 208, and notwithstanding the provisions of Standing Order 172-2, this House approves the appointment of the following members to the Procedure and House Rules Committee, in addition to those specified under paragraph 2 of the Standing Order 208. The Speaker, those specified under paragraph 2 of the Standing Order 208 are the Speaker of the National Assembly, the Deputy Speaker of the National Assembly, and the chairpersons, plus the following other members I'm going to read. One, the Honorable David Kiaraho, MP, Honorable Abdurrahim Dawoodi, MP, the Honorable David Gikaria, MP, the Honorable Ruwaida Mohammed Obo, MP, and Mr. Speaker, using Standing Order 48, I seek your indulgence in replacing Honorable Posing, it was a typical error, with Honorable Kangogo Bowen as in the place of Honorable Posing, because there was a typical error. Then next is Honorable Cecily Mbarire, MP, Honorable Gathoni Wamuchomba, MP, the Honorable Captain Retired Dismas Wekesa Baraza, MP, the Honorable Janet Chepkemboi Sitinei, MP, the Honorable Ben Momanyi, MP, the Honorable TJ Kajwang, MP, the Honorable Beatrice Adagala, MP, the Honorable Olago Luoch, MP, the Honorable Zuleka Hassan, MP, the Honorable Pamela Odhiambo, MP. Mr. Speaker, Standing Order 2081 says there shall be a select committee to be known as the Procedure and House Rules Committee. And this committee, Mr. Speaker, comprises of the Speaker as the chairperson, the Deputy Speaker, members of the chairperson's panel, and not more than 15 other members. The Procedure and House Rules Committee, Mr. Speaker, shall consider and report on all matters relating to these standing orders. So the business of this committee is to look at the standing orders in terms. Every new parliament always has a new revised standing orders. So, but in between the 5 years, if there will be a need to revise the standing orders in one way or the other, then this committee will look at it and it will submit a report to the House for consideration. Mr. Speaker, the Procedure and House Rules Committee may propose amendments to the standing orders, and any such amendments shall, upon approval by the House, takes effect at the time appointed by the House. So once the House agrees with that amendment to the standing orders, then it becomes part and parcel of our standing orders. Mr. Speaker, the Procedure House Rules Committee may propose rules for the orderly and effective conduct of the committee, business, and any other such rules shall upon. Speaker, I want to make it very, very clear. The standing orders are the rules that govern the conduct and the operations of the business of the House. And that's why I really want to urge new members that you must read the standing orders. Apart from the Bible and the Quran, you must at all times, even when you are traveling, get a copy of the standing orders. Mr. Speaker, I saw somebody in the media yesterday who was talking about the appointments committee. And that journalist was just reading the old standing orders of 29 members. And I texted him and I told him, my friend, you are behind. The new standing orders is written 3rd edition. You might find within Parliament 1st edition, 2nd edition. The current standing order, it says standing orders, 3rd edition. How you behave is all in this, Mr. Speaker. If, I am sure most of you are new, you watched the time when people came with the freebies and all that. The new standing order is very, very important because you can be sent for a whole year. At least, at least my good friend, Honorable Wandai, is a living example. We had to help him and manage. You know, he was sent for a whole year, Mr. Speaker, you remember. But because some of us in the leadership with Honorable Mbandi and all of us, we realized that, no, our brother cannot be in the cold for 1 year. So we had to bring a report. We had with Honorable Jacoyo, now he's at home. We had to come and beg the Speaker, brought a report, and brought back Honorable Wandai after serving in the cold for 4 months. So any one of us can be in that shoe if you misbehave and if you don't know what are the limits. And this is the committee that will deal with you. It's chaired by the Speaker and is above reproach. So how you behave here, it is not only that you should listen to Honorable Duale as your leader, or Honorable Bandi, or those of our leaders who are outside there, and you forgot yourself and you come and misbehave here. When you misbehave here, you carry your cross. Honorable Duale will not carry that cross with you. Neither with our leadership who are outside the House will not carry that cross. So I think it is good that we live in a very respectable, decorum, leadership style. So I'm sure the standing, the Procedures Committee deals with. Speaker, the committee, if approved, why we are forming it, and it's very, very important, Mr. Speaker, and we really want to indulge you. If the House agrees with us, Mr. Speaker, we really want you to call the first meeting tomorrow morning, because there's something this committee, we want something this committee to do for us as a leadership in terms of the composition of the members to various committees. We have looked at the numbers, and we have realized that we have some gaps. And that is why these members will receive, under your leadership, they will receive our concerns through our whips, where we want the standing orders to be amended so that each and every member of our House, the 349, can be in 2 committees, 1 departmental and 1 select, comfortably. So that is why today we want to form this committee. We hope the Speaker, through you, you call the meeting tomorrow morning, and then we deal with that report of that committee Thursday afternoon, Mr. Speaker. We will really ask you, despite your busy commitment, that tomorrow you call that meeting, if the House agrees with this motion. So that, Mr. Speaker, this will allow the House to deliberate and approve the amendments to the standing orders, possibly by Thursday this week. Mr. Speaker, the approval by the House will enable the Committee on Selection to make informed decisions when they meet on Friday to appoint members to various committees. Mr. Speaker, this is a very, very, very important committee. In my life as a member of Parliament serving the 3rd term, this is a committee that I cherish, that I will never appear before it, because it deals with the conduct and the integrity of members. If there is a committee you should avoid as a member of Parliament, should be this committee. So, Mr. Speaker, how you behave within the precinct of Parliament Mr. Speaker, you know, people think the President of Parliament is the chamber. No. If you ask the sergeant at arms, that's the first question you should ask him. What are the boundaries and the President of Parliament? Our officers, their car park, everything, how you behave. And I'm sure a number of us also are licensed gun holders. You know how you use your gun, how you behave when you have taken 2 or 3 bottles in the bar. You know, those of us who stay late in the bar in the Parliament, how your visitors behave when they are admitted to the presence of Parliament. How is your relationship between you and the staff of Parliament? There must be serious personal space. So this committee chaired by the Speaker should be the last committee you should cherish to appear. So, Mr. Speaker, why we brought these men and women is that they can help us amend the standing orders. They can help us work on it. And I am sure they are up to the task. Every one of us can be a member, but because of the limited time, Mr. Speaker, we felt these are the numbers. I beg to move, and Mr. Speaker, yes, because you also want to defend his small seat of the Speaker, I beg to move and ask the leader of the minority to second.
Point of order, Honorable Chris Wamalwa.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, is the leader of majority in order to mislead this House, Mr. Speaker? Because we do know very well that, and I expected him to have known this because he's a leader. This committee on procedures, it is there to set the ground rules. But when it comes to saying, misleading particularly the first-timers, that it will be unfortunate to appear before this, we are misleading because it's the committee of privilege, Mr. Speaker, which is involved in matters of disciplinary. So is he in order, as a leader, misleading, and is it ignorancy, or what is this, Mr. Speaker?
Leader of Minority Party.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I'm not rising to answer to that because I'm sure that has been well taken care of. I'm rising to second the motion, which is actually asking this House to approve the appointment of members to the Procedure and House Rules Committee. Mr. Speaker, again, this is a very important committee because as a House, we have realized, at the leadership of the House, we have since realized that there are amendments that we need to make very quickly on our standing orders, and therefore this committee needs to be in place. We actually want to increase the membership to committees. The numbers that we have are too restrictive, and the size of this House, Mr. Speaker, is 349, is so large that if we leave the membership of various committees as they are, we may end up with each member sitting in only one committee. But, Mr. Speaker, it would be desirable for members to serve at least in 2 or more committees, if possible. Therefore, Mr. Speaker, this committee needs to be in place to bring quick amendments to our standing orders so that by next week we are able to set or form our committees. Mr. Speaker, we have tried to mix MPs who have experience in this House and those of us who are new to the House but also need to learn to gain experience. Because, Mr. Speaker, you get experience through learning. So we cannot block out new members from sitting in such important committees just because they are new, because even those of us who are now experienced enough had a time to learn. We came in for the first time also, we were given an opportunity to learn. Like, I would give an example from my coalition, from the minority side. We have, for example, the longest serving member we have proposed to this committee is the Honorable Olago Aloch, who is the MP for the great constituency we call Kisumu West. And Mr. Olago is serving actually his third term in Parliament. We came in with him the same day. And Mr. Speaker, I want to thank the people of Kisumu West for still allowing a brain like Olago to sit in this House, who is not only qualified in terms of his service, from Fort Kenya, of course, yes, Mr. Speaker, and that just demonstrates the faith the people of Kisumu West have on Honorable Lago. We all know that that region is actually ODM territory, almost 100%. But still, Honorable Lago has managed now twice to win his seat on Fort Kenya ticket. And Mr. Speaker, Mr. Lago is an experienced lawyer in this country. So he brings a wealth of experience and also professional background in helping us form or work on the House rules and procedures. Mr. Speaker, we also have the Honorable TJ Kajwang, who has served in the chairman's panel, chairperson's panel, or what we used to call the speaker's panel. And I think members of this House will agree that TJ Kajwang is a diligent member and someone who is so committed to his duty. When he was serving in the speaker's panel, Mr. Speaker, we know what Honorable Kajwang, TJ Kajwang was able to do. And of course, he's also serving his second term. The Honorable Ben Mumanyi is another lawyer in the committee, Mr. Speaker, who is also coming from the Wiper Party, and is also another very experienced member serving his second term. Mr. Speaker, we also having Suleha Hassan, who is serving her second term, and we also have two members who are serving for the first time this parliament, but have been placed in this committee. We have Honorable Beatrice Adagala, who is coming from the great county of Vihiga, and a member of parliament on Amani National Congress. And Mr. Speaker, I have no doubt in my mind, for the short time that I've interacted with the Honorable Adagala, that she will also bring a lot of value to this committee. Finally, we have the Honorable Dr. Pamela Odhiambo, again, the member of parliament for Migori County. This is a lecturer. I don't want to call her a former lecturer because she probably could still be teaching. Mr. Speaker, this again is a lady I've interacted with for quite a bit of time, and I know she's going to bring value to this committee. I want to just, before I conclude, just to ask them to move with speed and bring amendments that are desirable, and not just the amendment, but also to look at the standing orders, because standing orders will always be changed based on circumstances and based on political environment. Finally, Mr. Speaker, even as I appreciate the amendments that were done to standing order number 176, Mr. Speaker, and I agree that our constitution, 2010 constitution, actually brought with it what we call the due process, that there is need, whatever decision we take, we need to be just, because that is a principle in the Constitution. And that due process is very important. For members, even if you are to be de-whipped, you need to be explained to why that is happening. But I want us also to be alive, and honorable members need to be alive to the fact that we are borrowed heavily from mature democracies. We are in members of the Commonwealth. We know that in the Commonwealth, whipping is very important. And when a party cracks a whip, Mr. Speaker, the whip, it is very important. And so we need to lecture and educate our members that it is important, especially on a matter where a party has taken a decision, that it is important to take party position, unless you want to go independent. And we have a number of MPs here. One of them is sitting next to me. Again, Honorable Shakil Shabir, who was a very faithful member of my party. But I don't know what happened, Mr. Speaker, that he had to come to this House through independent ticket, Mr. Speaker. But Mr. Speaker, I know Honorable Shakil's heart is still in ODM, and whatever happened, we will make sure next time it doesn't happen, so that Honorable Shakil, if the people of Kisumu East love him the way they do, they would vote him in on ODM ticket. But Mr. Speaker, what I wanted to say is if you don't agree always with the party position, the best thing to do is to go independent. And one step to take, be courageous. I remember my party leader, the Right Honorable Raila Amolo Odinga, in 1996, the end of 96, he didn't agree with Fort Kenya then. and he decided to move to another party called NDP. I was actually his youth that time, one of the very strong youth in his team. And I remember he told us he's going to NDP. We endorsed it. He went to NDP. He defected from parliament, actually resigned from parliament, and he won his seat on NDP ticket. So if you feel strongly that you cannot agree with the party or a party position, the best thing to do, take bold step and leave. But it is not neat, it is not nice to find a member who is a member of Jubilee Party opposing all the time. It can happen once or twice because we are also people with our individual thoughts. But it should not happen almost every day that you disagree with your party, the party that sponsored you to parliament, every day. It is like you conned your electorate. I campaign on the basis of ODM manifesto and the NASA manifesto in general. My voters voted for me, a lot of them, not because they were voting for John Badi, but they were voting for ODM candidate. The moment I start fighting ODM, I am actually betraying the trust and the confidence that the people of Suba South had in me when they were voting for me. Mr. Speaker, with those very many remarks, I want to second the motion and ask this House to approve these names for appointment to the Procedure and House Rules Committee. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honourable members, I thought it's not too long ago since we did the first induction. You cannot put the question before it is proposed. I thought that should have been among the very first things that you are taught. Now you're telling me put the question which has not been proposed. It doesn't happen like that, not in the Kenyan parliament. And of course, I want to confirm what the Honorable John Badi has said, that even in amending the standing orders, that standing order 176, this committee did consider that it is the prerogative of political parties that sponsor members to also deal with questions of discipline among its members. And it's for that reason that that power and right was never taken away from the political parties. All that was proposed is due process. But it's the power to reprimand, the power to de-whip. Those of you who have read the history of whipping, remember the story of the whipper dogs. You can go and read. It. It is the power to de-whip still resides in the political party. That has not been taken away, and therefore, just to confirm what the Honorable John Badi is saying is correct. So, please, even as you wish to disagree with your political party that sponsored you, it is desirable that you approach the leadership and tell them in advance why you feel strongly against a particular position that the party may be advancing. That way, life becomes a lot easier. And the whips, the Honorable Ashiali, the Honorable Barire, the Honorable Malwa, Junet, will hopefully be sympathetic with you and not propose any disciplinary action against you. Because that has also been provided for in the Political Parties Act, as you all, I'm sure many of you have read and seen what the processes that are advocated. Now, members, be that as it may, I now wish to propose the question that pursuant to the provisions of Standing Order number 208, and notwithstanding the provisions of Standing Order number 172, subsection 2, this House approves the appointment of the following members to the Procedure and House Rules Committee, in addition to those specified under paragraph 2 of Standing Order number 208. And those specified in that Standing Order, paragraph 2, are the Speaker as the chairperson, Deputy Speaker, and members of the Chairman's panel. The following members: 1, in addition to those, the Honorable David Kiaraho, MP. 2, the Honorable Abdul Rahim Dawood, MP. 3, the Honorable David Gekaria, MP. 4, the Honorable Ruwainda Mohammed Obo, MP. 5, the Honorable Kangogo Bowen, MP. 6, the Honorable Cecily Mbarire, MP. 7, the Honorable Radhoni Wamushomba, MP. 8, the Honorable Captain Retired Didmas Wekesa Barasa, MP. 9, the Honorable Janet Jepkemoi Sitienei, MP. 10, the Honorable Ben Momanyi, MP. 11, the Honorable TJ Kajuang, MP. 12, the Honorable Beatrice Adagala, MP. 13, the Honorable Olagwa Luoch, MP. 14, the Honorable Zuleika Hassan, MP. And 15, the Honorable Pamela Odhiambo, MP. So the desire that I put the question? Yes. Very well. I now put the question that the pursuant to the provision of standing order number 208, and notwithstanding the provision of standing order number 172, clause 2, this House approves the appointment of the following members to the Procedure and House Rules Committee, in addition to those specified under paragraph 2 of standing order number 208. The Honorable David Kerao, the Honorable Abdul Rahim Dawood, the Honorable David Gekaria, the Honorable Ruwaida Mohammed Obo, the Honorable Kangogo Boen, the Honorable Cecily Mbarire, the Honorable Radhoni Wamushomba, MP, the Honorable Captain Retired Didimas Wekesa Barasa, the Honorable Janet Jepkemoi Sitienei, the Honorable Ben Momanyi, the Honorable TJ Kajuang, the Honorable Beatrice Adagala, the Honorable Olagwa Luoch, the Honorable Zuleika Hassan, the Honorable Pamela Odhiambo. Will as many as that opinion say aye? Aye. And those of the contrary opinion say nay. The ayes have it. And while on my feet, honourable members, since I chair this committee, and because the leadership has approached me and indicated a desire that this committee meets urgently to look at certain proposals to amend the committee, the standing orders, particularly standing order number 177, I direct, and more so for the reasons that the circumstances of the House, the size and membership, require that certain adjustments be made to particularly the maximum membership to the various committees. I therefore direct that this committee meets tomorrow at 11 a.m. Hopefully, the leadership, both from the majority and the minority, will then presented in writing their proposals by the close of business today. So the committee looks at your proposals quickly and examines in the context of the size of the House, the desirability or otherwise of your proposals. Thank you. Next order.
Order number 11, the Copyright Amendment Bill, National Assembly Bill number 33 of 2017, second reading, resumption of debate.
Yes, honourable members, debate on this motion and commenced last week, and 7 members and contributed. And just to remind those that may have forgotten what they may have learned in the induction workshop, if you contributed, remember you now have to remain silent and listen to the others, unless there is a dilatory motion suggesting amendment to this bill as it is. Therefore, I'm assuming that the names as they appear here are those who desire to contribute to the bill. And the first one on the line today happens to be the member from Mwingi Central. the diminutive member for Kitui, Mwingi Central. It's you.
Mr. Speaker, I'm not ready for that, that bill. I wanted to contribute to the previous ones.
Oh, you wanted to,
Thank you.
not this one. The next member whose request I can see topping the list is Kingara Nganga, member for Ruiru.
Asante sana Bwana Spika kwa jicho langu kunitabua katika kikao hiki. La kwanza kabisa ni kushukuru wabunge wote, hasa wabunge wa upande wa upinzani, bandi hapo mheshimiwa, kwa sababu mmekubali kuja tufanye kazi ile tuliitiwa na wananchi. Langu ni kusema katika Kenya yetu tumeendelea sana na mambo ya usajili, utoaji na usimamizi wa utangazaji ni vizuri ukawekwa kwa laini iliyokuwa sawa. Na kama vile mnajua, nchi zile zimeendelea, zimechukua hatua mbele kuiga muigo wa juu sana, ndio wale watu hasa wasajili wasije wakaigwa na wengine wale hawajachoka. Na katika eneo la kutunga sheria hawana lingine. Sisi wabunge hapa ndio tuko na mwanya na ndio tuko na nafasi na vile vile ndio tuko na mamlaka kutoka kwa wananchi na katiba yetu kusimamia wale watu ambaye hawana nafasi kuingia katika bunge na wakajisimamia. Kwa hivyo wakati mjadala kama huu umeletwa, ni vizuri tukajisahau sisi watu kama binafsi na tukachukua msimamo wa Wakenya wote na kuona hata watoto wetu, hata marafiki wetu wanaweza kuwa wamehusishwa katika vipawa vya aina mbalimbali, na kama hakuna mikakati kamili, wengine watakuja kutumia jasho yao, lakini matunda wakapata hakuna. Ndio watu wakapata matunda yao ni sisi wa Kenya, hasa wabunge, tukatafuta mikakati na uzito wa maneno yale yatatumika katika usajili wa maandishi yoyote yale yatasimamia ujuzi wa Wakenya kwa njia mbalimbali. Ni jambo la busara sana, kwa sababu kuna mainchi ambaye vipawa vya watu binafsi, hasa muziki, michezo, vimetumiwa na wengine na wakakuja kujifanisha na wanawacha wale wabaya wametokana na vipawa vile kuwa watu wanyonge. Na ndio hilo lisiwe la kuigwa hapa Kenya. Itabidi basi sisi wanawabunge hapa Kenya tukawa na uzito wa usajili wa maandiko yote yale yatasimamia watu wenye vipawa. Na kwa hivyo Bwana Spika, mimi nimesimama kuunga, na ningeomba wengine wenzangu hapa wabunge waheshimiwa waungane na mimi tuunge mkono mjadala huu. Asanteni.
Member for Kisumu East.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir. Mr. Speaker, may I first acknowledge and thank the great people of Kisumu East who had the wisdom and the independence to vote for myself as an independent candidate. I think this was a great reflection of the maturity of the people of Kisumu East, in that they went in face of direction from any party and said that we want a leader who will develop and who will be able to contribute. A developer, and I pledge to them that I shall serve them as a leader, as a servant leader, for the next 5 years or any period they see fit. Apart from that, Mr. Speaker, I'd like to contribute to this bill. Mr. Speaker, all over the developing economies in the 50s and the 60s, 70s, 80s, there was no copyright restrictions, or rather even if there were, Japan, when it was developing, China, when it developed, India, and many others, kept quiet and did not give too much credence to the copyright bill because they wanted to bring the economies up to par. I know that in India, books which are copyrighted, even medical books, etc., are costing less than 1,000 shillings, yet on the market in Kenya and market in other places, they cost even 50,000. Because basically they're photocopied. And yes, I do understand that the authors need to be protected. But I think there are times we have to look at the greater good. Now we're talking about copyrights, but we are finding a lot of medicine that is not genuine, or it's not, it may be, they call it generic, but there's no copyright. The other day, I read that in America, there was a drug that was being supplied, and suddenly, before, and the copyright was taken, the drug price went up nearly 50 times. So as much as I agree that Kenya being a developing economy, and Kenya being on the threshold of takeoff, must also appreciate and pay respect, and also keep the copyright requirements in mind. There are times, Mr. Speaker, that this will not be in the benefit of the country as a whole. As much as we hear, and my colleagues were, we were all in a campaign, remember, just recently, and we were all being approached by the music society, and so, that you must pay 200,000 shillings to play their music, 50,000 to play this, 50,000 to play that. I do agree that this is something that must be done. I am not for one moment saying that we should break the law, but I'm saying that there should be some leeway. There should be some leeway. This bill is a very good, strong bill. It is good for a developing economy. No, it's good for a developed economy. It's not bad for a developing economy. But some of the requirements that have been put here, some of the penalties that have been put here are excessive. Furthermore, we passed another bill not that long ago, anti-counterfeit. And what happened? The counterfeit is still going on because all these bills that we pass, we do not give them the teeth to actually monitor and take action. So as much as I do believe that this particular act is well thought out, it has actually is quite detailed in the requirements it requires. It has come in, however, it is a fact too much to bear in this present economy. I would hope, and I'm going to, when we are doing when it comes for the third reading, I shall be proposing certain changes and certain requirements should be dropped and certain other ones to be covered. With those few remarks, Mr. Speaker, I thank you. I support the bill, but in part. Thank you.
Member for Saku.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I rise to support this bill, which is a good bill, really, because the Copyright Act that we have, which is the substantive act, it has gaps in many areas. It was just last year we saw that the community of blind and visually impaired approached this house, particularly to amend Section 50 of that particular act. Mr. Speaker, this bill is about protection of the intellectual property rights, where those who can write books, who can come up with music, are able to be safeguarded in their talent so that they really earn from their sweat. Mr. Speaker, in many areas, this bill addresses to the Substantive Act amendments, which, if we look at it in detail during the third reading, we should look at it such that, as Honorable Shakil has said, it does not kill the spirit of entrepreneurship, of allowing easy access for work an individual has taken so many years of their lifetime to invest in. Mr. Speaker, it is about protection of interest to various groups. If you look at what is happening currently in our country, there's a music that is produced by Mr. X, and in a few days, the CDs are sold on the street. If the original price tag of that particular music was maybe 2,000, it will be sold on the street for 100 and 200 shillings. Basically, what the initial fellow had invested, that talent, it will just be really killed. Mr. Speaker, there are also good things in this bill, particularly in the new frontiers of knowledge, the internet service providers. From what is happening currently, the internet service provider is a carrier. And if that carrier is penalized for somebody posting their music or their books or whatever talent onto that service provider, basically then we are penalizing somebody who should not be penalized in that spirit. Mr. Speaker, also I think through the intellectual property rights or the copyright bill, it will address also the media and other areas of producing, reproduction, and distribution of other people's effort without seeking permission from the original author of a particular talent. Mr. Speaker, in Kenya, it is common knowledge that artists actually are very poor. They are poor because the knowledge and the energy that they have invested. We Kenyans, we have never tried to put a penny on it. We have seen fellows who are actually household names. And when they die, they actually die so poor that it calls for people to do some arambes so that their bodies are properly interned. I think through this particular bill, such efforts should be addressed so that those individuals really gain from their talent. Mr. Speaker, one of the things which I think should be amended, or I'll personally seek to amend, is a post like the executive director, where expressly in the bill it is said that that individual must hold Masters of Law degree primarily in the field of intellectual property rights. I think unless the drafter of the bill has somebody in mind, it should never be actually expressed in that way, particularly when the threshold of education is so well specified. Then I think it beats the general principle of how individuals can be appointed to public offices. Finally, Mr. Speaker, as I said, this is a good bill. It shows progress on the Copyright Act. And I think the Copyright Act has not been amended for a very long time. And I think for the progression that this bill provides, I beg to support. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Godfrey Otsotsi.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for this opportunity to contribute to this very important bill. Mr. Speaker, I rise to support this bill. This is a very important piece of legislation. And as you know, copyright issues are global. And therefore, as a country that is globally competitive, it is important that our laws are aligned to the global standard. Mr. Speaker, this bill has very important provisions. One provision is the regulation on matters to do with software copyright. It is important because this country is losing a lot of money through software piracy. Mr. Speaker, sir, the country is losing about 12.8 billion shillings every year through illegal and unlicensed software. That is a lot of money that I'm sure will build a number of roads in this country. So you can see the importance of having laws that will govern the issues of software piracy. Software piracy is a global problem. And one of the things I will be raising in the third reading of this bill is how to ensure there is collaboration between the government and international providers of technology, like Microsoft, on the matters to do with the software piracy. Mr. Speaker, globally, the whole world is losing about 2 trillion shillings every year because of software piracy. And they say if we try to control even 1% of piracy, then the world will be able to save up to 7.3 trillion shillings. So if you localize that, then you can understand why it is important to have very clear policies and laws around the issues of piracy. Mr. Speaker, sir, looking at the bill talks about piracy on issues of computer programs. Whereas that is important, Mr. Speaker, there must be a balance between issues of regulating piracy and enhancing innovation. In the third reading of this bill, Mr. Speaker, I would like to introduce amendments to this bill so that in the process of handling piracy issues on computer program, we are not at the same time stifling innovation. I'm saying that because the modern technologies allow for what we call object-oriented programming, where you pick pieces and pieces of program and come up with an integrated program to do something. So it will be very difficult if we say we are going to completely regulate specific program. Then that will be stifling innovation. Mr. Speaker, I am also excited by the provision on internet service providers. This country is one of the major African countries which are internet-driven economies. And therefore, a lot of piracy will take place over the internet. So we need very specific measures to manage or provide for self-regulation by ISPs on the issue of online copyright infringement. In other countries, we have what we call industry code for ISPs on the issues of piracy. I think this bill should, I think in the third reading, we'll be introducing amendments so that ISPs in this country will be required to have an industry code on the issue of piracy. Mr. Speaker, sir, I also note that this bill has also taken into account the Marrakesh Treaty on matters to do with piracy. And that's very important because issues of copyright are global and cross-cutting, and therefore it's important that we have an international aspect to it. Mr. Speaker, sir, this is a very important bill, and I am aware that it has gone through the relevant committee, but I think members in this House who are from various disciplines, especially IT where I belong to, will be coming up with specific amendments on some of the sections so that we make this bill even better. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Take note, members, it's not Mr. Speaker anymore. Honorable Cecily Mbarire.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for giving me this opportunity to support the Copyright Amendment Bill 2017 that seeks to amend the Copyright Bill of 2001. Madam Speaker, as you are all aware, we have a new constitution, and it was important that we align the 2001 Bill Act to the new constitution, Madam Speaker. And Madam Speaker, I think it's important that we all know what it is that the 2010 Constitution provides for. And we all know that the 2010 Constitution has one of the most supportive Bill of Rights to the people of this country, Madam Speaker. And Article 11, Madam Speaker, 2A, particularly talks about that the state shall promote all forms of national and cultural expression through literature, arts, traditional celebrations, science, communication, information, mass media, publications, libraries, and other cultural heritage. And then talks about 2B, recognizing the role of science and indigenous technologies in the development of the nation. And C, promoting the intellectual property rights of the people of Kenya. Madam Speaker, out of this provision of Article 11 of the Bill of Rights, there's certainly need for us to ensure that these rights are properly taken care of in law so that we can be able to protect the intellectual capacity, the intellectual properties of our citizens, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, further, Article 40, Subarticle 5, says that the state shall support, promote, and protect the intellectual property rights of the people of Kenya. And therefore, there's need for us to have legislation that will ensure that that does actually happen. Madam Speaker, the same constitution continues to say in Article 69(1)(c) that the state shall protect and enhance intellectual property in the indigenous knowledge of and biodiversity of the genetic resources of the community, and it will further encourage public participation in management, protection, and conservation of the environment, and E, protect genetic resources and biological diversity. Madam Speaker, having said so, we realize that this particular amendment aims, number one, to ensure that the resources that we realize through the provisions that are in this copyright, this bill, leads to socio-economic development of our people, and that payments such as royalties and others that are related to it, that is paid to either the people who create this intellectual property, the publishers, the distributors, do actually get there. And Madam Speaker, I remember in the last parliament, we had an informal setting that I remember was being driven by one Honorable Moses Kuria, where we met the musicians of this country. And one of the challenges that they told us they faced was the loss of revenue through piracy, Madam Speaker, through counterfeiting and mismanagement of their copyrights, Madam Speaker. And therefore, through this bill, Madam Speaker, we hope that we shall be able to stem the online piracy that we are witnessing in our country today, especially that is really affecting our musicians, our artists, Madam Speaker, and ensure that we make online internet service providers liable for any online piracy that may take place, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, we know that by so doing, the biggest beneficiaries will be the young people that are full of talent. We have seen Kenya lead the way in terms of ICT, Madam Speaker. We have seen Kenya coming out as the nation that came up with mobile money, Madam Speaker. M-Pesa is the creation of a Kenyan, Madam Speaker. But we want to make sure that the creators of these great ideas are protected and they get to earn a living and a meaningful living out of their creation, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, we also want to agree that our culture is one of the richest that we have in this world, Madam Speaker. We stand out as a country full of cultural diversity, and it is one of the things that sells our tourism, Madam Speaker. And we have seen that in most of our marketing strategies of tourism in this country, we use culture as one of the things that sells this market. We are a cultural destination, Madam Speaker. And I'm sure you'll agree with me from where you sit that one of the richest cultures that has been greatly used by the nation to sell our tourism is the Maasai culture, Madam Speaker. And therefore there's need to ensure that that culture does actually benefit the owners of that culture, who are the Maasai community, Madam Speaker. And they must be protected, Madam Speaker. They must gain meaningfully out of their own culture, Madam Speaker, so that whatever comes into the country through tourism, and we know the contributors of that product, Madam Speaker, that they can be able to get something back to the community. The community can be able to grow through that revenue, Madam Speaker, and we can see the counties from where these communities come from benefiting in a big way, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I hope that this House will find it necessary to truly contribute and support this very important bill, and realize that this particular bill, for the first time, is taking into account a treaty that was signed by this country called the Marrakesh Treaty, Madam Speaker, that aims to facilitate access to published works of persons who are either blind or visually impaired, Madam Speaker. And Madam Speaker, That treaty needs to be domesticated, and this particular amendment bill seeks to do exactly that. So we really look forward to passing this bill so that we can be able to protect a very important industry, a very important sector of this country, a sector that brings revenue, that is not well accounted for, that doesn't reach to the people that actually played a role in creating, and that we can be able to empower our youth and the artists of this country. With those many remarks, I beg to support.
Let's have Honorable Muturi Kingangi, Mbeere South.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for giving me this opportunity to add my voice in supporting the Copyright Amendment Bill 2017. And I do that in alluding to two aspects of the bill. The first aspect, Madam Speaker, is that this amendment bill seeks to seeks to remove ambiguity in the copyright area. We have seen that there is a period of about 16 years between the first act and this amendment. In between, there's been a lot of development. And sometimes the words used in the Copyright Bill or the Copyright Act do not mean the same after 16 years. For instance, 16 years ago, we do not have the internet to the extent that we have now. 16 years ago, there was no WhatsApp, there was no Facebook, there was no the prolific enablement of sharing materials through the social media. And this amendment bill, Madam Speaker, it brings clarity into what is meant by the Act and what is not meant by the Act. I'll give an example, Madam Speaker. During the campaign period in my constituency, Mbeere South, I had to deal with a situation where somebody was caught playing online music, and the enforcers insisted that he was infringing on the right of the copyright, whereas the music was available online, and any effort to try and demonstrate that this music was actually availed by the artists for public display was very difficult until we stepped in. And therefore, as we protect the copyright owners, we also need to protect the consumers, because the copyright owner requires the consumers. So unnecessary harassment of the consumers also stifles the copyright owners. So both of them need to be protected. And this amendment bill brings clarity that is required for both the copyright owners, the consumers, and the enforcers. And I think the challenge is to the Copyright Board of Kenya to ensure that those they send in the field are not just going there to on a fishing mission, on a trip to listen to anybody who is playing music and then claim that they are infringing the copyrights. These days, there are many radios which are online, and you can listen to your radio through the computer. If you are playing a piece of music through the computer, it doesn't mean that you have downloaded illegally that piece of music. A lot of it is availed for free by the copyright owners. And therefore, when we harass, well, when the agencies harass the consumers, then the copyright owners are denied the market. The first development of the, particularly in the visual and the audio area and in the music, the creativity of the artists in various areas has also brought a lot of diversity, brought new vocabulary into the game. And therefore, this amendment bill brings clarity in that it helps us to catch up with the technology, to catch up with the new expressions, to catch up with the creativity that is being seen within the Kenyan society. And I want to commend the Kenyan society for their creativity, that they are able to think out of the box and create things we didn't know before. And it's up to this House to keep up with the development in this sector and register it accordingly. And therefore, while supporting this bill, I would like also to echo the sentiments of my colleague, Kano Raso, the member of SACCO, in the definition of the Director General, the prescription that has been given for the qualification of the Director General of the Copyright Board of Kenya, to prescribe to the extent where you say he has to have this degree and this qualification, I think it's wrong. One, it makes it very difficult to plan succession in that organization, because then you have to line up people with the same qualifications so that they're able to take over from the Director General. Otherwise, every time there's a vacancy, every time the director steps out, then you have to go out fishing for a particular person. In any case, the work of the Director General is not technical. It is in the leadership area. And leadership can be provided from all manner of professions. This House, for instance, is full of people with various and diverse professional qualifications. But they come here to bring leadership. And therefore, when we prescribe, we actually precipitate a crisis in the succession, and this should be avoided. I think we should look for a leader for this organization. It's not just law. Leaders come in from all manner of professions. And so, with those few remarks, Madam Speaker, I rise to support.
Let's have the Honorable Member for Dagoretti South, Honorable John Kiari. You have the mic.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. I really appreciate this opportunity to rise and support the Copyright Amendment Bill of 2017, which in itself is a bill that seeks to amend an Act of Parliament, which is the Copyright Act of 2001. And on the onset, I'd like to note that entertainment and the creative economy in Kenya is a multi-billion Kenya shilling industry. And as such, this bill is very timely. I know that we will all agree that ideas are going to become the currency of the new world. The new world belongs to men and women who will be coming up with great, novel, and exemplary ideas. And our recent history is replete with examples of great men of great ideas who have contributed in a massive way to the development of our globe. I know names like Bill Gates will come to mind with his idea of a computer on every desktop. A man like Steve Jobs, he of the Apple fame. Mark Zuckerberg, who recently visited Kenya, is a man who created the largest country by population in the world today. And the world that he created, or this country that he created, is actually online, does not exist anywhere physically. By virtue of the population of people on Facebook today, Facebook is the largest world. And so, ideas are going to be the biggest driver of development of the globe going forward. This House is also not short of examples, and Honorable Jaguar from Starehe constituency comes to mind, the Honorable Moha of Jichopevu, and of course the Honorable Member of Parliament from Dagoretti South, all who have plied their trade in the creative industry. they do come to mind. And it is to such minds of great ideas that the future belongs. I know that the Bible does remind us that we are co-creators with God. And as such, the environment that God did not create naturally, he left for us to co-create with him. And hence, the need for us to look into this industry of idea creation. Well, it has been said by my colleague and senior, Honorable Cicely Mbarire, that if we were able to amend this bill and put it out there, we shall actually be availing opportunities, because we realize that not all our young people will get employment opportunities in government. Not all our young people will be employed in companies. But if we widen the scope of tapping talents and making them an industry that pays our young people, we shall be availing Bill 6 to do. I rise to support it, and as I support it, I want to add there that I see an opportunity for us to expand how we view creativity, to go beyond what was traditionally the visual and performing arts, as most members are contributing. There are new worlds that beckon, great opportunities that are out there. These opportunities are in the new and emerging industries of information technology. Great opportunities for creative ideas to thrive. And with that, I would like to say that unlike what has been said by the honorable member of Kisumu East, I'd like to say that I do not find the penalties here punitive. Because some of the offenders of copyright rules are actually multinational corporates. Multinational corporates that will take conceptual ideas, intellectual property of young Kenyans, exploit them to make billions and billions of dollars, while the creators suffer and linger in poverty in this country. As such, I do support stiffer penalties for copyright offenders, be they multinationals, big multinationals, but also pirates in this country, who go against the tenets of the Bible and reap where they do not sow. Honorable Jaguar will tell you that for every shilling that he makes, the pirate makes five shillings out of his creative works. And as such, punitive penalties have to be instituted. Madam Speaker, I'd like to say that we would like to co-opt the ideas of creative bodies in this country. And as such, I'd like to ask this House to move with speed in forming the relevant committee so that we can have these bodies coming before us and giving us their ideas on this Amendment Act, the Copyright Amendment Act of 2017. And these bodies do include and are not limited to the Kenya Association of Music Producers, the performing arts lobby groups, the film industry in this country, the digital content producers, who are very critical, Madam Speaker. I know when you walk in the streets of Nairobi, you're hearing new lingua out there. People talking about slay queens in this town. Slay queens are a creation of social media and digital platform content creation. And let me tell you, it is an industry that can grow with all these bloggers out there, with all these amazing content creators online. What we need to do as this House is protect their ideas and make sure that they thrive from the art that they trade. Madam Speaker, I seek to retreat and put it on record that I do support this Amendment Act, and given the opportunity at the relevant committee, I shall be having some proposals of amendments that we shall be adding to this Copyright Amendment Act. With that, Madam Speaker, I support this bill. Thank you very much.
Okay, the Honorable Jennifer Shamala.
Madam Speaker, I rise to support this bill, especially in view of the fact that we recognize that copyright, intellectual property rights are indeed the works of the human spirit. IP is also the driving force for economies and countries like the United States of America. You will see that their copyright industry drives their film industry, from which they earn billions and billions of US dollars. Indeed, their industrial designs in patents and trademarks, indeed the other aspect of intellectual property, which is in the area of industrial designs and patents, earns them billions of dollars, especially in the areas of pharmaceuticals and the defense industry. Madam Speaker, I wish to reiterate that when this bill shall go to the committees, that they do carefully consider Section 22A of the amendment, which says in Clause 9 that the memoranda and object of reasons is that the registration shall be voluntary. Indeed, copyright is an automatic right, and there is no need for compulsory registration. Hence, it is important that this comes out very, very clearly in the amended Section 22A. Furthermore, Madam Speaker, sir, Section 22A3 says that the registration shall be prima facie evidence. Again, I wish to reiterate that the position as per the Berne Convention, the convention that guides all copyrights and provides for all issues related to copyright, states that the prima facie evidence is actually the evidence that even the artist may have with himself. So to state in Section 22A3 that the registration becomes the prima facie evidence would be making it mandatory for copyright owners to register their works and for the registration of their works. I hope that at the committee stage, they will recognize this and ensure that in line with the Berne Convention, that the amendments are made and ensure that copyrights and registration of copyrights is not mandatory. That is, I stand to support, and I further wish to state that indeed, it is important that we begin to see intellectual property rights as an economic driving force for this country. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Yeah, Honorable Shamala, I'm sure you'll have some good time during the next stage of the bill to bring out those very important points that you have just highlighted.
Yes, Madam Speaker. Thank you.
Honorable Njagwa Kanyi.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for giving me this opportunity to comment on this very important Copyright Amendment Bill of 2017. But first of all, I would like to thank honorable members who have contributed before me for supporting the bill, and also correct Honorable Meso Raso from SACU, who have said that artists die poor, and tell him in every business, if you don't invest, definitely you die poor. Madam Speaker, arts pays our bills. Therefore, the amendment of this bill is aimed at fostering the growth of the arts industry and allow Kenyans to live off their talents. Madam Speaker, the Copyright Act, which is in practice now, was drafted in year 2001. This is a long time ago, hence there is a need to refresh the Act and make it current. I would like to recommend the broadening of this Amendment Act. The 2001 Copyright Act was very narrow in definition of art owing to the time. The industry has now expanded to include a lot of things which were categorized under arts. For example, we now have spoken word, comedy is also categorized in arts, just as we now have sign language in music. The amendments in sections 5, 6, 11, 19, and 22 of the 2001 Copyright Act have to do with the refreshing of the Act to be in line with the new Constitution. Madam Speaker, the Copyright Board has over the years been constrained in performing its mandate. This is the reason which this bill seeks to clarify in section 5 and 6 of the 2001 Act, which now clarifies the functions and composition of the board members. The requirement in section 11 of the Act states that the person should be qualified advocate of the High Court and have 5 years experience, as well as having served in a senior position in the Copyright Office. It's good, but I would suggest that we add to that and increasing the airplay threshold for locally produced content. I would like to comment on the issue of collecting societies. As written in the section 46 of the 2001 Act, first, a collection society should be artist-oriented and should not be a business entity whose aim is to exploit artists. To ensure these amendments should put stringent measures to be followed by the board before licensing in a collection society. I agree with the provision stating that there should be not more than one collecting society in a single art class. This would prevent confusion and overlapping of mandate. Section 47 of the Act also mandates the Copyright Board to be a regulator of collecting societies. This is welcome, and this is welcome as all collecting societies must be regulated and audited yearly for the purpose of licensing, which should be on yearly basis. With a few remarks, I would like to support these amendments, Madam Speaker. Thank you.
Honorable David Sankok.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. And let me state from the beginning that I do support this motion. And thank you, Madam Speaker, once again for giving me an opportunity to contribute to this very important motion, especially just after Jaguar, Honorable Kanyi, whom we know is one of the great men who are in that industry. I know Honorable Kanyi, when he speaks of this copyright amendment bill, he speaks from the heart, because in one way or the other, it have affected him directly. Some of us have been affected indirectly, but for Honorable Kanyi, it is directly and Honorable Kieri. Madam Speaker, for a long time, we have, as a country, channel our minds so much on natural and underground resources. We have forgotten that a lot of money worldwide nowadays are channeled towards talent development. And Honorable Madam Speaker, those who earn a lot in this world are people, great women and men of talent. Honorable Kieri had mentioned Bill Gates, who by 2001 was earning an approximately of 40,000 Kenya shillings per second. Honorable Speaker, if you can try to do a bit of mathematics, if you are earning by that time 40,000 Kenya shillings per second, that means per minute you multiply by 60. And then per hour you multiply by another 60. And then per day you multiply by 24. And then, of course, per year you multiply by 364 or 5, depending on which year. Now, Madam Speaker, if you can imagine those zeros, it is even risky to imagine the amount of money just for one individual. This is what we are actually, as a country, not seeing in our young men and women. And that is why we say this bill and the amendments are overdue. We really need to move with speed and make sure that we protect these young men and women, because most likely and most often than not, they are young men and women. And we are facing, as a country, a problem of unemployment. And if we have to create employment, the first place that we should actually channel all our effort is the creation of talent. It also touches on protection of our rights as a Maasai, being a cultural community that have maintained our culture throughout all these decades. And we don't benefit from it. What have happened is that many times you find people stealing away our rights and because there is no protection from copyright, then we end up losing the resource that will have economically jump-started our communities. Madam Speaker, as much as we protect the men and women of talent, we also need to protect the consumers. Because the problem is that through these bills that we pass as a house, at times we don't follow up in implementation. And when it comes to the implementation part, instead of implementing the way we have passed them, it becomes an avenue for a few people in the Communication Commission of Kenya and our police to make quick money by harassing consumers. We have to have a way of making sure that if penalties are there, they specifically target the offenders, not the consumers. Because if we harass the consumers so much, Honorable Kanyi and Honorable Karia will tell us that the market will shrink. So we should actually try to make rules and ways in which implementation of this, especially the penalties, to target only and specifically offenders. Madam Speaker, there are a lot of copyrights that we need to protect. Even the copyright of swearing in of a president of a country, we need actually to protect, because I've heard there are people who want to copyright. They want to break and swear somebody else. And I hear from rumors that since the president, the current president of the Republic of Kenya, was sworn in by judiciary and the army, and the judiciary had used the Bible, so some want to copy. So they want to use a textbook of CRE to swear somebody on Cholof. And since it was an army affair and there was 21-gun salute, I hear from rumors that they want also to use balloons. They prick so that they can be 21-gun salute. So, Madam Speaker, we really need to protect and copyright, this copyright amendment bill. We really need to move up with speed to make sure that it is implemented and implemented to the latter, so that we can protect our youth, so that we create much employment in this industry, because I'm sure the world is moving towards that industry. Thank you very much, Madam Speaker, for that opportunity to contribute. And I support the motion in totality.
He started an online online trading. And from it now, he has become the richest person in China. So if we commercialize our talents, be it music, performing arts, our sports, our youth will not cry for jobs. Indeed, they will create more job opportunities. So we must, through this bill, protect, first of all, the bill will seek to help to commercialize the talents that our youth have and protect their rights. I was reading again and saying Las Vegas is one of the fastest growing cities in the world. And it's not because of anything else. It's because of talent, arts, music, drama. So I think this bill could not have come at a better time. We need to commercialize our talents, be it the people who are bringing innovative ideas in ICT, in music industry, and ensure that we harness what their talents bring for them, so that they are able to make a living out of it, and they can be the job creators of tomorrow. So with those few remarks, Madam Speaker, I beg to support. Thank you.
Well, let's have Honorable Kisang Kipkemoi.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I rise to support this bill, the Copyright Amendment Bill 2017. It's a very long time since this act was passed, that is 2001, and 16 years down the line, there are many things that have happened, especially in the ICT industry. There are many innovations, there are many words that have changed along the way. And 2010, we passed a new constitution. That is why we are amending to align the bill and the act in the new constitution. Madam Speaker, specifically I want to look at Section 11. Section 11 is talking about computer programs. In between, along the way, we have several systems that have been written over time, that have been sold, and there are two major types. We have what we call systems or computer software that come with source code, and there are those who come without source code. So to introduce an amendment so that those programs that have source code, you allow the institutions, you allow the individuals to copy across institution, maybe have offsite backups for themselves as they use the system. The system also will allow them to make changes. Computer systems are very dynamic, and since they are dynamic, you cannot stop those who have legally bought the software from making changes. So this amendment, 26A, is very important. And there are those that come without source code, and those ones are copyrighted and you cannot make any change. You are only allowed to use the way the person wrote the system is. Secondly, Madam Speaker, is as Kenyans, we are among the top. We are basically second after South Africa when it comes to innovations. In some programs we are ahead, like money systems, M-Pesa. The young man who innovated M-Pesa basically should be now among the richest persons in the world. But because it was taken over by a corporate company, the young individual is just surviving and living outside there. There was also a very good innovation. There is a young man who came up with a system to do mapping in the nation. Basically, they wanted to assist KRA to locate all houses within the country, to track those who are not paying their taxes. But along the way, there were issues, and that particular individual basically would now be very rich and contributing to the revenue because of piracy. KRA is losing a lot of revenue because if we pirate software, if we pirate music, it means the country is not getting its due revenue because those individuals are selling in the black market instead of going through the right channel so that the country collects VAT and income tax revenue. So at the third stage of the reading, Madam Speaker, we will introduce many changes, especially on the wordings, and also enhancing the bill, so that at least our brothers, especially in the music industry, may enjoy. Because in the last parliament, we made the Music Copyright Society, we made also the other groups of artists, and they're really living in object property. And those who are enjoying the benefit of the innovations are the pirates. And we need to bring this to an end. Finally, Madam Speaker, is about the qualification of the Director General of this institution. As a CEO or as a leader, you don't need to be a lawyer. If you need a legal mind or legal knowledge, below the CEO, below the Director General, you can put particular heads of departments who will come with skills that are required. ICT skills, legal skills, and other skills. So, but as a CEO level, you need a leader, you need somebody who can take the organization to a higher level. With those few remarks, Madam Speaker, I support.
Honorable Ibrahim Abdisalam. Is not here. The Honorable Tum Chebet Nandi.
Madam Speaker, I stand to support a motion, Copyright Bill 2017. We know when individuals are left to do things on their own, we safeguard their venture into business and other areas of expertise. So when we don't protect people, we kill initiative, we kill innovation, we produce substandard goods, and services in our nation. Madam Speaker, we know what is happening. There is a lady from Wasingishu who was number 5 worldwide because of beauty contest. We are going to celebrate her next week. And because she was left to work in a conducive and free environment, her life is going to change. So the youth in this nation are venturing into music, and we should protect them so that they do the right things. The Bible tells us, out of your own sweat, you will produce bread. So you should not eat out of somebody's sweat. So for those people who are innovative in our nation, they should be left to work in a free and conducive environment. We should have laws to protect what they are doing. In the academic world, we talk about plagiarism. You cannot uplift even 2 sentences from somebody's work without quoting the source. So the musicians and other people who have talents in other areas should be protected the way students are protected, those who are in universities. They produce their own work. You cannot copy without quoting whose work it is. So I support this motion because the socioeconomic development of our nation will be realized when we protect people who have worked hard to produce whatever they have produced. So I support this motion, Madam Speaker. Thank you.
The Honorable Muli Fabian of Kangundo.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and thank you for giving this chance to contribute on this copyright amendment bill. Honorable Madam Speaker, I stand to support this bill. Primary material, they are taken and copied, and then the person who copies is sell like the primary producer. Madam Speaker, very many people, they are inventing materials, but they end up being the market from other sources. Madam Speaker, even Security Department, law enforcers, they are not able to carry the proper investigations or enforce on protection of our innovation because of lack of these proper laws. Madam Speaker, that's why I raise and I support this motion by saying that, support this copyright amendment bill, say that our talents for our youth will be protected for the future investment. Madam Speaker, also we understand that our youth, we say that the economy, we have to encourage them to invent business, to go to the market of business. But meanwhile, we need to come up with the policies and laws to protect this industry for our future innovations. Madam Speaker, I say I support this motion, and I say thank you.
Honorable Tobiko Bessie.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. And Madam Speaker, on behalf of the other members, let me pass our very sincere condolences to you and your family because of the loss of your mother-in-law. Madam Speaker, I was just imagining that Kenyans should really see the commitment of members to serve them, that you're here very soon after bereavement. My sincere condolences. Madam Speaker, I support this motion, and I will say it has come at the right time, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, the Chapter 130 of the Kenyan Constitution contains the Copyright Act with the sole mandate of making provisions for copyright in literacy, artistic works, audiovisual works, sound recording, broadcasting, and other connected services, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, a lot has gone on in the world in terms of copyright issues, Madam Speaker, and globally. There is no specific law globally, Madam Speaker, to really regulate on copyright, but there has been an attempt on a number of laws, Madam Speaker. including the Berne Convention in 1886, which is now administered by the World Intellectual Property Organization, WIPO, and it sets a minimum set of standards for the protection of the rights of the creation of copyright works around the world. Madam Speaker, also in the European Union, they have tried to harmonize copyright laws and regulations, including the 2001 Directive on Copyrights in the Information Society, which had two sole objectives: to reflect technology developments and also to transpose into the law of all the European countries the provisions in the WIPO Treaties of 1996. Madam Speaker, in the United States, the copyright world began in 1976 when they passed a new Copyright Act, and Madam Speaker, efforts around the world can be seen. This will ensure fair use, Madam Speaker, of good works, good innovations by people. And also, when you want to copy or reproduce somebody's work, it could only be for criticism, comments, news reporting, research, and scholarship. Otherwise, you will then need permission from the originator, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, this law will give protection to local entrepreneurs, Madam Speaker. We have so many young people who are becoming very innovative, artists, and also in other fields, Madam Speaker, the cultural world. In the Maasai community, there has been a lot of progress, even in the work using beads. And a lot of these works, Madam Speaker, need protection so that then the beneficiaries become the innovators of such work, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, this law will also grant rights to the copyright owners, Madam Speaker. And so today, Madam Speaker, knowing what has been going on in our music industry and also on the cultural heritage of many communities in this country, is only right that we pass a law that will protect communities, individuals, our young people, and give a chance to our young to prosper and also even to get employment and to employ others as they continue to develop, Madam Speaker. We no longer have white-collar jobs, Madam Speaker, and we need to create an enabling environment for our young people to be able to think harder, to be able to innovate, and to be able to, that their works will be respected. Like the Honorable Member had mentioned, the young person who started M-Pesa might not necessarily today be benefiting enough from his own innovation, Madam Speaker. And there are a lot more innovations of young people that are going down the drain because possibly more stronger people or organizations are adopting their works at very minimal value, Madam Speaker. And so I arise to support. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
All right, honorable members, in the absence of any further interest in contributing to this bill, I shall now call upon the mover to reply. Honorable Mbarire.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, let me take this opportunity to really thank all the members that have contributed to this bill. Madam Speaker, there's no doubt that this is a bill whose time is long overdone. Madam Speaker, we needed this thing like yesterday. And I'm happy to see that the members realize the need to protect the creators of intellectual property, to protect the talent that lies within our young people, to ensure that the Bill of Rights as stipulated in Article 11 is actually upheld, Madam Speaker, and that we give meaning to the provisions that we have in the Constitution through this legislation, Madam Speaker. And therefore, I want to thank all the members that have contributed, that have added their voice to this bill, and in fact, call upon more members, and even those that have contributed today, to take advantage of the committee stage so that we can bring the necessary amendments that we feel are not are required to make this bill even stronger. I am particularly impressed to see that we have members of parliament who are artists in their own rights and who have contributed today. To mention the Honorable John Carrier, the Honorable Njagua, who have walked that walk and understand what it is the people out there, the artists out there are facing in terms of challenges, and therefore we'll be depending heavily on them to ensure that we strengthen this bill, we make it more firm so that we can be able to give our young people a chance to participate meaningfully in their lives and to realize their full potential. As one member mentioned, that was John Kerry, that in fact the future is for the creative mind, and therefore we have no choice but to really pass this bill. But let me also thank the relevant ministry and the government, the Jubilee government, for finding it fit to really give this agenda a priority in the 12th Parliament, Madam Speaker, and we look forward to even many more legislation.
And we shall then move to the next order.
Order number 12, the Building Surveyors Bill, National Assembly Bill number 35 of 2017, second reading.
Mover.
Madam Speaker, I beg to move that the Building Surveyors Bill 2017 be now read for the second time. Madam Speaker, the process of formulating the building surveyors legislation started in the 1980s. The draft National Maintenance Policy and draft National Building Regulations spearheaded by the Ministry of Housing, currently the Ministry of Transport, Infrastructure, Housing and Urban Development, identified the role of building surveyors as being critical to the built environment and further recommended the formulation and enactment of a building surveyors legislation. Consequently, on 26 April 2011, the ministry formed a committee to spearhead the formulation of the Building Surveyors Bill. The committee comprised of representatives from the University of Nairobi, the Institute of Surveyors of Kenya, the Kenya Private Sector Alliance, corporate real estate firms, the Ministry of Nairobi Metropolitan Development, currently a department under Ministry of Transport, the Ministry of Housing, currently the Ministry of Transport, Infrastructure, Housing and Urban Development, the Office of Attorney General, Architectural Association of Kenya, and the Kenya Bureau of Standards. Madam Speaker, the principal object of the bill is to govern the profession of building surveying by providing for the registration of building surveyors and to regulate the activities and conduct of building surveyors. Madam Speaker, this bill is divided into 4 parts, and part 1 deals with preliminary matters, and part 2 of the bill provides for the establishment of Building Surveyors Registration Board, with its composition and functions. The functions of the board mainly relate to the registration of building surveyors, issuance of annual practicing licenses, and maintenance of the register of building surveyors. Part 3 of the bill provides for the registrar and the register of building surveyors. The registrar shall be the chief executive officer of the board and secretary to the board. The board shall keep and maintain a register of building surveyors registered under the Act. The part also specifies other functions of the registrar and provides for the issuance of a certificate of registration and an annual practicing license to building surveyors registered under the Act. Madam Speaker, Part 4 of the bill provides for the conditions and qualifications for the registration of building surveyors. The part also provides for the removal of a building surveyor's name from the register where the registered building surveyor dies, fails to pay prescribed fee, requests for his name to be removed, or is convicted of an offense under the Act. The part further provides for the restoration of a building surveyor's name in the register and the carrying out of an inquiry where a building surveyor has been involved in an act that amounts to professional misconduct. Madam Speaker, Part 5 of the bill sets out the financial provisions in relation to the board and provides for the monies that shall constitute the funds of the board. Part 6 of the bill contains miscellaneous provisions, Madam Speaker. The part provides for the effect of registration, indemnity requirements, dishonest practices, and includes a provision empowering the Cabinet Secretary to make regulations necessary for the implementation of the Act. Madam Speaker, the schedule provides for the conduct and affairs of the board in relation to meetings, execution of instruments, and minutes. Madam Speaker, this bill does not limit rights or fundamental freedoms, nor does it delegate any legislative power. This bill does not directly affect the functions or powers of county government set out in the 4th schedule of the Constitution. Madam Speaker, the enactment of this bill shall occasion additional expenditure of public funds, which will be provided for under the annual estimate. With those remarks, I beg to move, and I wish to request the Honorable Member for the Tharaka Nithi to support this motion. Thank you.
And just before Mheshimiwa, you go on to second, I just want to remind members interested in contributing to this bill to register their interests so that you can have an opportunity to contribute. Mheshimiwa.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I rise to second the bill as put across by the Deputy Chief Whip on behalf of the Majority Leader. The bill before the House seeks to establish and regulate the body which will consist of building surveyors. The bill seeks to separate other surveyors from building surveyors so that there is a distinction when it comes to legislation that regulate building surveyors and other surveyors. There is establishment of the Building Surveyors Board, which is supposed to be the body to regulate operations and conduct of building surveyors. It's a body that will have its own funds set aside. It is the body that will have the power to discipline the building surveyors where it's perceived to be misconduct. It's a body that will use due process to ensure that building surveyors do conduct themselves professionally and in accordance with the law. The purpose is to ensure that in the country we do have building surveyors who are available for the construction industry. Sometimes even the public does not make a distinction between building surveyors and other surveyors. The purpose of the bill is to ensure that this distinction does come out clearly, correctly, and in a manner that is understandable. The Act dues with the building surveyors throughout the Republic of Kenya. In as much as this will go into the county governments, the regulation of the surveyors will be from the national government, an act that removes the bill from the purview of legislation within the counties. It is a law that is long overdue. It's a law that should have been enacted earlier than today, and therefore it is my plea to the members of parliament that we do pass this law so that as soon as it comes into force, we do have a set of laws that regulate the arm of professionals known as building surveyors. With those remarks, I beg to second.
Honorable members, I now propose the question that the Building Surveyors Bill, National Assembly Bill number 35 of 2017, be now read a second time. The Honorable Muturi Kingangi, Mbeere South.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for giving me the opportunity to contribute to this important bill, the bill for for the Building Surveyors Bill 2017. Madam Speaker, this bill could not have come at a better time. But before I go there, I would like to reflect on the work of the building surveyor. To start with, it's a building surveyor that ensures that buildings are built and are completed on time and on budget. It is a building surveyor that ensures the safety and the security of buildings, the soundness of the construction. It is a building surveyor that provide for special requirements, such as the provision of access to buildings by people with disability. It is building surveyors that ensure that the contractors and other professionals are building up to standard. And therefore, Kenya right now is experiencing a construction boom. And this city of ours, Nairobi, actually, the skyline is changing by the day. At the same time, we've had cases where buildings are collapsing during construction, others are finished and then they collapse. And therefore, the regularization of the trade of building surveyors comes very crucial, that we know that the people who are inspecting our buildings, the people who are supervising our constructions are actual professionals. So this act, this bill, comes at the right time when we require regulation, when we require control, when we require to ensure that the construction boom and those who are investing in the construction boom are protected from quacks who present themselves as building contractors or building surveyors. By the use of building surveyors, then we are able to ascertain that our money is being utilized in the right place. So I commend this bill, and I support.
Let's have the Honorable Tobiko Peris.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I rise to support this bill. Madam Speaker, Kenya is developing and developing very fast, and we need to regulate, we need to raise our standards nationally. We need also to be competitive even in the international markets, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, whenever it is campaign times, People and Kenyans are very aggressive in speaking about the leaders and what sort of leaders we require, Madam Speaker. And so, Madam Speaker, I would say we not only need to raise standards in terms of leadership in this country, but also in terms of professionalism, Madam Speaker. We need to raise standards in all aspects, Madam Speaker, of development in this country, so that, Madam Speaker, Kenya can be rated highly internationally, can be respected, and in the world we will be known as people of quality, people who do not compromise standards. And that is why, Madam Speaker, to me this bill is very important. Because in this country there is a lot of development in real estate, in commercial and retail, industrial, leisure, education, health. A lot of things are developing in this country, Madam Speaker. And we need this bill, Madam Speaker, to be able to protect individual Kenyans, to protect institutions, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, it has always been very painful to see buildings collapsing in this country. Then you find Kenyans and rebels, and it is very scary. It's very scary. Sometimes even just along the roads, you look at the buildings that are coming up, mushrooming in every part of the country, and you wonder whether we have done enough to regulate and protect and make sure that the standards that are there are not compromised, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, in countries like Brazil, also building surveying is being spearheaded by the Royal Institute of Chartered Surveyors. And this also began after there was a lot of growth in the real estate markets, Madam Speaker. And so, Madam Speaker, I find it very important to support this bill. Particularly, I am excited by the proposed establishment of the Building Registration Board that will regulate the activities and conduct of building surveyors, so as to ensure that they undertake the activities as required by law and not exploit the general public. Madam Speaker, even our individual homes, Madam Speaker, as we build them, sometimes, you know, Kenyans, most of the times, people would like to go for what is cheap. But sometimes what is cheap will compromise a lot of aspects. And sometimes you will just call a fundi because you think it is cheaper that way, but tomorrow a building where you have invested so much goes down, Madam Speaker. And so I think it is very important that we regulate this market and enhance and promote professionalism, Madam Speaker. The bill introduces changes that will put building activities in the country to meet the international standards, and this is very important, such as the international scope of works outlined for building survey. Currently, Madam Speaker, our country is experiencing a lot of growth in the real estate, which is stimulated by both the local and foreign investors willing to invest in the country. And such amendments will increase their confidence in the Kenyan market, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I am sure Kenya is headed well, beginning from the laws that we make in this House. And Madam Speaker, I would just want to urge Kenyans that just the way that we are not ready to compromise standards of leadership, we must not also compromise in terms of professionalism and any development in this country, and then I'm sure we will be taken very seriously in the international world. Thank you, Madam Speaker. I support.
The Honourable Member for Funyula, Honourable Ojiambo.
Madam Speaker, thank you for the opportunity. to contribute on this bill. I stand to support, but before I do so, I just need to correct my honorable members who have spoken before me on exactly the role and work of a building surveyor. Being a member of ISK, just leaving the lecture halls to come here, at least I know exactly what they do. One, I need to mention that these members belong to Institution of Surveyors of Kenya, and they are only members who have had no substantive act to regulate their activities since the institution was formed in 1969. The surveyors, land surveyors, have their Act of Parliament. The valuers and estate management surveyors have actually 2 acts of Parliament that regulate their activities, and that's why in our case, the building surveyors, this has been long overdue. I remember this agenda we started some times back. It had to abort because of the issues concerning definition of the scope of a building surveyor. But I'm happy it has come to fruition. We now need to proceed and finalize this bill. A building surveyor, Madam Speaker, generally comes at the tail end of the project. They're basically people who manage the buildings. They are not involved in the construction stage. They are not construction managers. The duty of ensuring buildings are built according to plan within cost and safety belongs to the design team and the construction managers. Of course, the building surveyors come in at a later time.
Bills can be scrutinized at the committee level and for us to go through it in a better or more deeply so that we can be passing bills which are well analyzed. But all in all, I do support this very, very important bill that we need the building surveyors to be regulated just like any other professionals so that the buildings which we live in can be considered to be saved so that when you are in any building, you are so sure of your safety. I believe that can only be assured if we have a regulation or if we have a law guiding those who are dealing with buildings. And that's why this bill is very, very important. It's unfortunate that we have taken quite a while before thinking of coming with such a bill to guide in the building sector. Going through this bill, I believe the issues of regulation will handle the issues of qualifications of these building surveyors, because I perished through and I failed to see where the issues of qualifications for building surveyors have been addressed. I believe that can be captured by the CS with the approval of this House, so that we can really know the academic qualifications of these people in this sector, and so that all of them, all levels of these people can be regulated, right from the certificate holders to the diploma holders, degree holders, and even with those with higher qualifications, so that different categories of buildings, we can be so sure at this level this can be handled by this kind of professionals. Currently, the people we are dealing with are the people called contractors, who are only there to make business, to make money, but they may not be having that professional background to ensure that there is safety in the houses which we live in, or the buildings which we stay in and which we work from. The issue of the board, I'm happy that the board is well empowered. The board on dealing with building surveyors, that they can be dealing with those professionals who will be found with professional misconduct, because it's very, very important that the people in this field are people of high integrity. They are people who can be trusted to ensure the safety of Kenyans and the visitors who come to this country. I'm also happy to see in part 5.2 of this bill that the issue of gender representation, especially at the board level, is well captured, that there should be not more than 2/3 of either gender. I believe this bill, this side of this professional field is dominated by the male gender. We need to ensure that we give our ladies and our daughters also a chance to play when it comes to the issues of building. I'm happy also that the provisions dealing with the board are well captured, especially dealing with the board members' removal and such. That is well articulated in this bill, so that the issues of which hand may not come in, that whoever is going to be serving in this board will be so sure that there only needs to be people of integrity, practice professionalism, and nothing else to be able to continue staying in that board. So I do, with those few remarks, I do support this bill. Thank you.
Honorable Wanjiko Gakuya of Kasarani.
Okay, thank you so much, Madam Speaker. I rise to support the Building Surveyors Bill 2017. I'll start by saying the building surveyors are really recognized because you find they cover quite a wide range, starting with the design, construction, maintenance, repair, and the general supervision. But you find in most urban areas or in cities, people just build. Other than the big buildings or maybe the government buildings, any other common citizen who is building is not aware of the building surveyor.
For unfair treatment of any professional, because it is so elaborate in terms of how the board should take action against any member who does not stick to what he or she is required to do as a building surveyor and so on and so forth. But otherwise, I feel apart from this, probably once we have the committees in place, all the professions which have a role to play in building, who probably up to now have not had a law regulating their practice, we need to also bring new bills to ensure that all the different types of engineers, surveyors, those who are involved in building constructions and so on and so forth, because in the building industry, there are so many professions which contribute towards realization of a safe structure. And we need harmony between the various laws which regulate practices of these different professions and so on and so forth. And therefore, with those few remarks, I wish to support this bill. Thank you very much.
All right, honorable members, I do not see any more requests for contribution to this bill, but I think you will all agree with me of the very important nature of this particular issue on building surveyors. And I therefore suggest that we continue with this debate tomorrow. I'm sure we'll have more members expressing their interest on it. So I think we can move on. Honorable members, the time being 5:37 p.m., this House stands adjourned till Wednesday, 6th December 2017 at 9:30 a.m.